Hey folks, Rachana Ranade here and I welcome you all to a brand new video which is about what's up with Facebook. I'm sure everyone experienced that 6 deadly hours where we had no work to do. Why? WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, everything was down for almost 6 hours, and on the same day, one of the reasons because of huge impact of this outage, the share price crashed by almost 5%. Is this the big problem that Facebook is facing right now? Answer is no. There are a few more problems which are ongoing with Facebook. So if you want to know more about this, just check out the full video. Let me remind you all one more time that all these creative people are spammers. That's how my account looks like. Also remember, I never give my mobile number in any chat. I neither have an advisory nor do I give any stock tips. Well, generally we start any video with what does the company do? In case of this video, I'm sure everyone already knows it. But being a teacher, I feel that it's my prime responsibility to tell you at least in one line what does Facebook do. So Facebook basically develops both softwares and hardwares that help people, family, friends to connect to each other with what? Mobile devices, personal computers, through virtual reality headsets and also through in-home devices. Let me tell you the amazing history of Facebook in an amazing and innovative way. Back in 2003 in Harvard University, a student named Mark Zuckerberg, along with his friends Eduardo, Dustin and Chris, started an online service called Face Smash to judge the attractiveness of their fellow students. It was shut down in just 2 days due to the university's policy violations. But just within those 2 days, it had gathered 450 members. In Feb 2004, the short success of Face Smash attracted Mark to launch an online social network, www.thefacebook.com, for Harvard students to post and share photographs, personal information, class schedules, college club events, and so many more things. It was an instant hit. Soon students from Yale and Stanford were allowed to join the network. In just 5 months, it had 250,000 student members from 34 schools. Such was the popularity. In the same year, MasterCard started paying the Facebook for exposure on their network. By the end of 2004, the Facebook had 1 million plus active users. In 2005, Facebook introduced the game-changing tagging feature. In 2006, Facebook opened memberships beyond students to anyone above 13 years of age. But in the same year, one of the very first major issues with privacy cropped up. And since then, privacy issue still haunts the company. In 2008 though, Facebook surpassed MySpace as the most visited social media website, and finally in May 2012, Facebook filed an IPO and became a publicly listed company. In 2012, Facebook had come up with an IPO, but just for you to give a comparison about how big the IPO was, first understand this. First, Google had come up with an IPO in 2004 wherein they raised $1.9 billion from their IPO. Isn't that a huge number? No. Why? Listen to this now. When Facebook came up with their IPO, they raised $16 billion, making it the largest IPO of an internet company. Well, isn't that big? I'm sure everyone wants to know more about Facebook, but before that you have a question in your mind that even if you like the company, will I be able to invest in that company? Because right now in India, there are very few brokers who allow investing in the US stock market. Even if they allow, the charges are way too high. It's about the account opening charges, brokerage charges, commission, exchange rate. Everything is so high that an amount invested of rupees 20,000, after all these charges, your effective amount invested is somewhere around 16,770 rupees. But if you compare this with INDmoney app, investing through the INDmoney app, then for them, Account opening charges 0, brokerage is 0, commission is 0, paperwork is 0, and also you'll get the best exchange rate, and hopefully your investment will not go down to 0. Right? Okay, all in all, I think with the INDmoney app, because of all these points, if you invest 20,000 rupees through their app, effectively your 19,882 rupees get invested in that specific stock. So if you want to explore more about investing in US stocks, don't forget to check out the link in the description below. Well, like we discussed the products of any company, now let's discuss the products of Facebook. But to be honest, you're already familiar with all the products. Which ones? Very first one is Facebook. Number 2, Facebook Messenger. Next, WhatsApp. Next, Instagram. And the last one is Facebook Reality Lab. Well, this is like an augmented virtual reality product which makes people feel that they are actually connected with each other, but in reality they are virtually connected with each other. They have 2 major products in this one. First one is Oculus Quest and the second one is Portal. Well, till now we talked about all the goody points about Facebook, but recently, WhatsApp with Facebook? Are they in trouble? So for that, I'm going to talk about 3 years, 2019, 20, 21, where Facebook, I can say, has landed in some sort of trouble. Okay, so in 2019, what had happened? Facebook failed to keep the user's personal information secure. They allowed Cambridge Analytica to get access of almost 87 million users' data without the user's consent. This data was used for the Trump presidential elections, and for this, Facebook paid a fine of $643,000. After this, what happened in December 2020 was the Federal Trade Commission. You can compare this with something like a Competition Commission of India, okay? So Federal Trade Commission sued Facebook for trying to kill their competition. Now, how did they do that? Facebook either was trying to kill the competition by acquiring the business or by acquiring the idea. This is just a simplified version of what had happened in December 20, okay? Now, how did Facebook do that? When they felt that Instagram could become potentially a very big competitor, so what they did was, before it becomes a big competitor, let's acquire it. So, Facebook acquired Instagram for $1 billion in April 2012. Then they thought that maybe WhatsApp could also be a potential competitor. So for that, what they did? They acquired WhatsApp in February 2014. For how much? For $19 billion. I wish they believe that even I could be their competitor so that I can... Okay, anyways. Well, what they did was, in these 2 cases, they acquired the business. But now, there was also one case where they tried to acquire a business, name is Snapchat, but somehow it failed. Okay, so what they did was, they got inspired by Snapchat's idea and they introduced Insta Stories. Okay, now this was about the first 2 events. Third event, back to back, 4th October 2021. Everyone knows what happened recently. 6 hours of outage of Facebook, and everyone was like, "Ab zindagi mein bacha kya hai?" So that's what happened in pre-bumper, right? Everyone was clueless what to do. No Facebook, no Insta, WhatsApp. What will I do in my life? Okay, and by the way, with this big crisis that happened with everyone, the clarification that came up from company side was that there was some faulty configuration change. Okay, by the way, on the same day, the stock crashed by almost 5%. Okay, itna kam nahi tha. What happened recently? This is very recent news. Okay. There is a whistleblower, her name is Frances Haugen. She claims that Facebook's algorithms deliberately promote divisive and antagonistic content to drive engagement. In simple words, it's something like promoting hatred. Okay. Now, if this be done, she says that company tolerates the spread of misinformation for profits. And she also adds that this can have a negative impact on the mental health of the teenagers. Of course, this is what Frances Haugen has to say. When Mark Zuckerberg was asked about this, he has denied all the allegations. So it'll be, we'll have to wait and watch as to how the outcome of this last thing comes up. Now let's talk about some interesting Facebook stats. Okay, but whenever I'm going to talk about these stats, I'm going to talk about 2 terms. One is a user and one is people. Is there any difference between these 2? Answer is yes. Okay, so out of all these platforms, if a person is either logging in or is getting registered on Facebook or Facebook Messenger, then that person will be termed as a user. Okay, but if a person either logs in or gets registered on any of these platforms, then that person will be termed as people. Okay, with this in mind, let's go ahead with some interesting stats. With the basic information that I talked about just now, let's start with amazing statistics. The very first one is about daily active users. You can see that they have grown from 1.4 billion to 1.85 billion in between December 17 to December 20. Now, if I go on to the next one, it's about a monthly active users data. Simple. Previous one was a daily active user. Now we are talking about a monthly active user. So this growth has been from 2.13 billion to 2.8 billion in the same period. So if you check out daily active users by monthly active users, you can see that the growth is almost constant at 66%. Now, what do I mean by DAU upon MAU, which is 66%? It means that out of 100 monthly active users, 66 users are daily active on what? Either Facebook or Facebook Messenger, because we are talking about users, right? So with that, let's move on to the next stats, which is about daily active people. Here you can see that there's a growth from 2.03 billion to 2.6 billion in between what? December 18 to December 20 period. And in the same period, if I talk about the monthly active people, it has grown from 2.64 billion to 3.30 billion in the same period. So again, let me do a same stat, which is that daily active people by monthly active people, and here you can see this is almost constant at 79% in December 20. Now, what do we mean by this? Now, out of 100 monthly active people, we have 79 people who are daily active on what? On either Facebook or Facebook Messenger or Insta or WhatsApp or all. Okay, so that this stat is a good one now. Moving to the revenue chart, you can see that yes, because of the pandemic, everyone can see that Q1 FY20 there was a drop, but yes, of course, you can see that the recovery has been pretty much strong, and you can see a good growth by the end of Q4 FY20. Also, you can see that there's a pretty much healthy growth in ARPU, which increased from roughly $7.40 in December 18 to 10.1 in December 20. Now, I have been talking about ARPU in the last point. So, why is ARPU important? For that, let's understand this. ARPU is what? Average revenue per user. And how does the company recognize this revenue? They recognize this based on what? Display of impression-based ads. Now, what do I mean by impression-based ads? The moment you see that ad, it's counted as one impression. Okay? So, please understand, how will the total revenue of Facebook be counted? Total revenue will be what? Their ARPU multiplied by number of users. In the very first one, we talked about users. In the last few charts, we talked about revenue. So, as and how ARPU goes on increasing, as and how users go on increasing, I can say surely their revenue is going to go on increasing. I hope this stat is also very much clear. Of course, revenue can be counted using different means also, but this is just a baseliner understanding for you. Let's move on with the financials now. You can see that two major revenue points are advertising and other revenue. But if you just have a look at these figures carefully, you can see that advertising eats up the major chunk of the revenue. Other revenue is a very small part, right? Advertising revenue has grown from $55,013 million to $84,169 million. Okay, that's a growth of almost 80.84% CAGR, right? If I talk about other revenue, that is also decent enough, CAGR of almost 68%. What does other revenue include? It includes Facebook Reality Labs, hardware devices, fees received from app developers, and few more points, right? Now, coming to the revenue based on geography. Now, have a look at this. United States and Canada revenue is almost $38,000 million. Okay, I'm rounding it off. And if you see Asia Pacific revenue, that's roughly around $19,000. Now, Asia Pacific revenue is generating only $19,000 approximately, whereas US Canada is $38,000. US Canada is twice as compared to Asia Pacific. So tell me logically, where will the users be higher? India is in Asia Pacific. Users have to be more in Asia Pacific as compared to US, right? But then why come US Canada is having almost twice revenue as compared to Asia Pacific? Reason lies in this chart. This chart talks about ARPU, that is the average revenue per user. And here you can see US Canada. Look at that tall chart in December 31st, 2020. It's at 53.6. That's the average revenue per user in dollars. Okay, $53.6 per user. And compare that with bichara Asia Pacific user, that's $4.1. Such a huge gap. Okay, in simple words, can I say that users are more in Asia Pacific, but the ARPU is way too high in US Canada, and that's the reason why overall contribution of US Canada is way too higher as compared to contribution by Asia Pacific region, right? Now, all in all, even if you just have a look at the same chart again, you can see that it's something like the charts are almost high in December. That is the Q4 of their financial year. They have calendar year as a financial year, right? So December is highest revenue, and first quarter, that is the March ending quarter, is generally a lower number. Now, what is there any reason for that? So when I'm talking about the Q4, for them it's mainly Christmas season. So generally advertising spends are high during the last quarter, number one. Number two, every company has their own advertising budget, and when it comes to the fag end of the year, everyone wants to finish their advertising budget. So generally advertising happens at a higher side in the last quarter. Who is going to be the beneficiary? Obviously Facebook. More and more people advertise, more and more revenue is going to get generated for Facebook, number one. Number two, if you check out first quarter now, first quarter is always lower as compared to Q4. Why? Advertising budgets for the next financial year are yet to be frozen out. Okay, so it will take time, generally around at the end of first month, second month, somewhere around that the advertising budgets will be finalized, and that's why the spending on advertising gets a little bit delayed. That's the reason why Q1 is generally low, right? One more point, not in this chart though, but all in all, when you have a look at their annual report, you'll find that not a single customer represents more than 10% of their revenue in the last 3 years. It's a big plus for Facebook. One more point, when I was trying to check whether any risk is there for Facebook or not, any risk for their revenue drop, only possibility is that their user engagement drops drastically, because of which their ARPU can reduce, and because of which their final revenue can also reduce. But if you ask me right now, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, drastical reduction in users is comparatively lower probability, right? Chalo, moving ahead with the financial highlights now. I'm not going to go into details of each and every figure, but here you can see revenues have grown by 80.6% CAGR. Operating income has grown at 87.3% CAGR. EBITDA at 86% growth, and FCFE, that's the free cash flow at an enterprise level, that has grown at 82.9% CAGR. Having a look at the balance sheet now, nothing special to be really honest, but if you see equity investments tab, you can see that their equity investment has gone up from $86 million to $6,234 million. Oh my god, itna kya invest kiya? Where have they invested such a huge amount? For that, I'll take you to this next schedule wherein you can see Jio is at $5,824 million investment, and that's what you can see. That's the big jump in the investment schedule, right? Now moving on to our last point. Okay, we have done the analysis. Okay, everything agreed, but that's our analysis. What do all these analysts have to say? If you have a look at this, I'm on Yahoo Finance website. If you see that majority of the analysts have either given a strong buy recommendation or a buy recommendation. Is this my recommendation? No, this is by all the different analysts on Yahoo Finance. Okay, so all in all, even these big analysts feel that it is either a buy or a strong buy. Well, I can say that Facebook right now is trying to establish itself under two major categories. One, as a large social media giant, and number two, in the hardware space also. So right now, if I were to talk about the social media giant as they are right now, they will be able to continue to do that only if, number one, they're able to maintain the privacy policy issues of their users, and number two, they're able to maintain a clean image, right? If I were to talk about the hardware space, if they are successful in that, then I'm sure that their name will be counted in the league of big players like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, right? Well, talking about one more rumor which is there in the market right now, that Facebook might change their name. When I try to find my logic for that, why could that be possible? Because if I talk about Facebook right now, I can see only one app as a visualization, only Facebook. But right now that we can see, in social media, we have Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, everything. And if I'm talking about hardware, if you remember, we had talked about all these two examples. If you can remember, these are their hardware categories, right? So all this under one roof, they want to create their Facebook universe, and they have termed a coin for that, metaverse. And just to portray this new vision of Facebook, they want to change their name. So it'll be interesting to watch out what could be the new name of Facebook. Oh well, when we were shooting the video on Facebook, change of name was just a rumor, but yesterday morning, that is on 29th October 2021, Facebook Incorporated officially confirmed that they have changed the company name from Facebook to Meta. Please note, name of the app is not changed, name of the company has been changed. Now, when others are wondering why did this happen, you already know what is Meta and what is a metaverse. Well, if you want to invest in Facebook or any other American company, surely check out the INDmoney app. Link of that app is there in the description box. Until then, as usual, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.